The date is March 8th, 2019. Thank you guys for tuning in to the SNE Mobile Tech YouTube channel. This is the live stream podcast for this week. We are strictly going to be looking over the topic of the Sprint and T-Mobile merger as a discussion. So as you all are piling in here to the live chat, please go ahead and say your formal hellos. It will be a pleasure to have you guys here in the live chat. And I am testing some brand new equipment that we just purchased here, courtesy of the patrons on Patreon. So many thanks to those that contributed and supported SNE Mobile Tech on Patreon, as well as on the YouTube channel. So much appreciated. Gary Nichols, thank you so much for tuning in, buddy. Glad you could be here. Thank you for saying hello. We're just waiting for some people to pile in. Get things going here in about a minute. The plan is to be on for a little bit of a while. We'll cover all the news from this week as it pertains to the Sprint T-Mobile merger, kind of do some Q&A, hit some discussion points, some different things that have been happening this week, and what we expect to be happening next week and in the near future. So we'll just kind of wait for those to pile in. We'll get started here in a minute. Say your formal hellos as you pile in. Love to hear from you guys. All discussion topics will be centered around wireless carriers today. And again, like I said, I am testing some brand new equipment, courtesy of the patrons on Patreon. So we're just giving it a shot, seeing what it's like here. And of course, with any type of Q&A, which I always have the forums open to the viewers, is you can ask anything given the opportunity. So I'll look in the live chat to see what's going on in there. I'll look for your thoughts and opinions and ideas on particular things. So I want this to be interactive, obviously. I want to get your feedback, what you guys think about what's going on. I know T-Mobile and Sprint, obviously, it's going to be a big topic and it's going to dominate today's podcast discussion. So I'm looking forward to it, and hopefully a lot of you guys can pile in. I know it's kind of late notice, but I just wanted to get this out there. It was kind of an eventful week, so I wanted to kind of get to some of those different points. And of course, let your opinions be heard in the live chat. It is the best part of these podcasts and live streams. So, first of all, hopefully everything sounds good. Testing new equipment, testing a new webcam, testing a new microphone. So, if I could, please somebody get me a video feed. Let me know how it's the resolution is. Let me know how the consistency and latency is. Hopefully, there's no delay. Let me know how the sound quality is. If I sound clear, if it volume wise is high enough. If it's too loud, just let me know, guys, before we get started here. As you're piling in, please go ahead and say your formal hellos. Thus far, I have Gary in the live chat. Thanks for being here again. I haven't seen anybody else chime in yet. All right, we got Jamal. Welcome. Thank you for being here. Glad you could stop by. Frankie Castro 1971 says, "Hi, Steve." Who is that? Let's see here. Gary says, "How is the Verizon challenge going?" You know what, Gary? It's going pretty good, honestly. I didn't think it was going to be this good, but honestly, it's been fantastic. I was expecting a lot of slowdowns. I was expecting, some pretty heavy deprioritizing at times, especially during peak. I really haven't been seeing that. If there has been any deprioritizing, I haven't felt it. So whatever I've been able to do, whatever bandwidth I'm getting, whatever speeds I'm getting, has been enough for anything I'm doing. So whether it's HD video or I'm watching TV, streaming on my device, it's been fantastic. I've been using the hotspot. I've been using the upload for all my videos on the YouTube channel, Patreon. It's been fantastic. It's been excellent. I'm surprised. I had one day where I felt like I was actually being pretty heavily deprioritized, but it was only one time, and it's been almost 20 days. So I'm like 3 weeks in, and it's been fantastic. And I've been pleasantly surprised with it, actually. Uh, so yeah, I'll have an update video. I'm going to try to do it sometime this weekend, if not Monday for sure. John M says, "Hey, good to have you, buddy. Glad you could be here." Matt Wilson, thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. Thanks for letting me know everything is good. Let's see here. Gary says, "T-Mobile will merge because DOJ and FCC are different people. Democrats are the naysayers and the Republicans." So, Gary, kind of true. I'm not sure if I would say it's 100% accurate, but in terms of the congressmen that are opposing the merger, it is mostly Democrats, but there are Republicans and there are independents. So I don't want to say it's only Democrats. It's predominantly Democrats. It's probably more accurate to say that. But yeah, there are naysayers and there are certain people in Congress that want to block the merger. Not that they can, but they're obviously encouraging the FCC and the DOJ to reconsider and make sure that that in their eyes and their perspective, decreasing the amount of large carriers in the U.S. is going to affect competition. But I think we all know that Sprint is in a position where they're struggling to compete, and maybe it is the best situation for Sprint and T-Mobile to merge. Obviously, they don't see it that way, so they're allowing, they're creating all these different letters and they're sending in, their opinions to the FCC specifically uh, about how they feel about the merger. I'll give you guys my thoughts and opinions on it, but that's kind of where it stands. So, like I said, it's not just Democrats. There are Republicans. It's mostly Democrats, but there are independents also. So, just considering all the facts, that's kind of what's going on there. Hawkeye 310, what's going on? Glad you could be here. Thank you for stopping by and tuning in and saying hello. All right. So, now that we've got some people piled in here, of course, you guys are more than welcome to, just say your hellos, pop into the live chat, mention anything. I'll read what you guys have to say off of there as we cover the topics. Feel free to give me your thoughts and opinions at any time. I'll try to get to as many of the discussion points that you guys, find relevant and want to kind of be opinionated on. So I think what we'll do first is we'll look at last week, or I should say this week's video content in terms of topics. So specifically, the most recent news, obviously, is the Sprint and T-Mobile merger this week. There were a couple of different things going on there. So last night, actually, funny story, I was actually watching the Captain Marvel premiere. So I was watching the movie with my brother, and I wasn't really aware of what was going on. Obviously, I was focused on the movie, which, by the way, I thought it was a good movie. No spoilers or anything. I don't want to say anything but the movie, but it was okay. Probably wasn't the best Marvel flick that I've ever seen. It's not obviously like the Avengers movie or any of the more recent ones like Black Panther. It's not up to those standards, but it was a fine movie. It was good. Obviously, there's a lot in it that's going to pertain to Endgame, the Avengers Endgame movie. So, that's kind of what they were doing, connecting a new character to the MCU. Anyways, the movie was fine. It was only 2 hours long, really. So it was good. A lot of people in the theaters, so it was a lot of buzz. People were excited to see it. Anyway, so all the news about the T-Mobile and Sprint merger that came out yesterday was happening while I was in the movie. So when I got out of the movie, obviously I started seeing all these news stories breaking on how the Sprint T-Mobile merger was kind of on pause and they put it, on this hold. The 180-day window for review had been, paused again. So we've seen this before. We've seen the merger get paused multiple times previously. Most recently with the government shutdown, obviously the FCC, because they're a part of the government, they're going to be shut down with it. So they weren't doing anything in the review process during that time. And then previously, it had been paused for the review of some information. So a pause, like I said in my video that I posted last night, a pause is not necessarily, a one-way ticket to hell. It's not like it's the end of the world for the merger. A lot of people, I feel, kind of jumped the gun a little bit and kind of saw it as doom and gloom for the merger, like, oh, they're going to stop it. It's on pause again. But I think in and of itself, it's not really that big of a deal. The pause, like I said in the video, is really about reviewing some additional information that the FCC has received. Now, they requested this information. It's what they were looking for. So they did receive it, and because they have received it, they want to review it. So they're going to take the time to do so. So honestly, to me, it doesn't mean that it's the end of the world for the merger. It doesn't mean it's going to fall through. It doesn't mean, it's over. So I've been telling people, pump the brakes, relax. It's not over. It's just kind of like one of those things where it's all part of the progression. It's part of the process of it getting through all these different regulation patterns and going through the protocol, as they say, different procedure. So again, like I said, no doom and gloom. Don't just abandon ship on the merger. Just kind of look at it as in this is just one of those things that has to happen. So it is what it is, kind of thing. So the 180-day clock is technically paused for review of a particular thing. information that the FCC has received. Now, in terms of the FCC's review of this information, they needed this information. What they were requesting was, how is T-Mobile and Sprint, in terms of the new T-Mobile, how is the new network going to be integrated? Meaning the Sprint network integrated into the T-Mobile network. So currently, how is the infrastructure going to be utilized? So that plan had to be put together and submitted to the FCC. And now with it being submitted, the FCC is going to review it. Now, this is a question that a lot of people were having, asking, well, what's this new network going to look like? How is it going to be integrated? If I'm a Sprint customer, how am I going to be, what's going to happen to my plan? What's going to happen to my service? Am I going to have to get new hardware? Am I going to have to buy a new phone, new smart devices, whatever? These are the questions that the FCC is asking as well. So now we're going to get some answers to that. And hopefully we can actually be privy to this. Hopefully it becomes available to the public so we can kind of get in on it. I'll definitely keep you guys posted. Stay tuned to the channel for any updates that I get on it. I think that is a really important sticking point in this. I think the FCC is valid. It's a valid point to ask and to want to know. And I think it's important for consumers to know. So, like I said, not the end of the world for the merger, just a little glitch. And also the review process. I mean, who knows? We could have answers on this pause within days or maybe a week or a couple of weeks. So we're going to be just kind of like waiting to see what we get in terms of information. So that's kind of what the pause is really about. It's not like Sprint did something wrong. It's not like T-Mobile did something wrong. In fact, they actually did what they were supposed to, and that's provide a roadmap or a plan of how they're going to be integrating the network between the two different companies. So I'm going to take a look here at the live chat and see what's going on there. Quite a bit going on. So awesome. I'm glad you guys got a lot to say. So Gary says, because in 2012, Obama was in office, if Republicans were in charge, AT&T would have had a merger, but thank God they didn't because T-Mobile took off under leisure. Gary, you're 100% true. I think if you think back to like when the AT&T T-Mobile merger might have happened, so you're talking like 5, 6, 7 years ago, that merger would have been really bad for the public. That merger would have been horrible. And the reason I say that, and I agree with you, is because AT&T is already one of the largest carriers in the U.S. In fact, I think what AT&T was trying to do is they were trying to buy T-Mobile to eliminate a carrier. This particular merger is not really to eliminate a carrier. It's not an acquisition. It's a merger. So even by definition, by name, the nomenclature tells you that it's more of a conglomerate, like working together, right? A merger. In the case of the 2011 AT&T T-Mobile thing, or 2012, I forget which year it was, that was seriously an acquisition. It really had nothing to do with merging. T-Mobile was a young up-and-coming carrier that hadn't really gotten any traction yet, was a very, very distant player in the carrier space. And of course, AT&T, one of the biggest players in the nation. So there's a reason why that one was blocked, and I'm very glad it was blocked, or else we wouldn't have the young carrier as we know it today. This is obviously very, very different, and I think, Gary, you're on to something there. John M says, "What's the Verizon challenge?" Okay, so John, it's not really the Verizon challenge. What it is it's the 30-day LTE only challenge. And what I'm doing is I'm not using Wi-Fi on my smartphone for an entire 30-day billing cycle. So what I wanted to do is to put myself in a position of a user who doesn't have Wi-Fi, whether it's dependable Wi-Fi or any meaningful Wi-Fi connectivity. So essentially, somebody who only has LTE connectivity has to do everything through their smartphone, has to do everything through their LTE network. So whether it's a prepaid MVNO or it's a postpaid carrier, I kind of want to put myself in a position where, what is it like for somebody who doesn't have Wi-Fi or lives out in a part of the nation where Wi-Fi is not realistic? We have, nomadic RVers and truck drivers who pretty much do everything through LTE. So I have an unlimited plan through Verizon, so I'm using the Verizon LTE network. I'm not using Wi-Fi. I've disabled it. It's turned off. I'm doing everything on the YouTube channel using the Verizon LTE network. So that is the 30-day Verizon LTE only challenge. So it's not really about it being Verizon. I just happen to have Verizon. So I'm going to report back after those 30 days and let you guys know what the experience is like not using Wi-Fi. Now, my particular plan is a plan that has a 22 gigabyte deprioritization threshold. I exceeded 22 gigs probably at the end of the first week. So I think currently I'm like 120 or 150 gigs of usage. So I've gone above and beyond that particular threshold. And honestly, so far, so good. I haven't really been slowed down. I can't really sense any type of deprioritizing in terms of regular usage. There was one day where I think I was heavily deprioritized, but it was just one time and it was during peak time. So I was kind of expecting it, but it's only happened one time out of the 20 plus days that I've been doing this challenge. So, like I said, it's been a pretty good experience, honestly. I have no regrets in doing it this way. Um, so yeah, I'll be doing a final report on it and showing you guys some speed tests and things of that nature. And actually, I'm going to give you guys like a 3 week report update at some point this weekend. I think no later than Monday, but hopefully I can do something Sunday. Arcelia says hello. Hi, Arcelia. Glad you could be here. Thank you for tuning in. Thanks for popping in the live chat. DGAF says, hey, Sneed. What's up, my friend? Glad you could be here. Gary says, just like my friends, they told me to relax. Yeah. I think a lot of people got really worked up last night when they got that news about the 180-day uh, review pause. I didn't see it that way. I didn't see it as a panic moment. I didn't see it, as a reason to, think that the sky is falling on the merger. So, yeah. Martin says, hello. Hey, Martin. Glad you could be here. Thanks for tuning in. John M says CDMA greater than voice over LTE, in my opinion. Well, I mean, for voice, I guess CDMA is good, but like voice over LTE is the way that we get LTE connectivity while we're on our phones talking. So, I mean, I couldn't subscribe to that for different applications. Matt Wilson says, is it sad that Sprint and T-Mobile hearing was more interesting than the Super Bowl? So you weren't impressed by that 6-3 score in the fourth quarter? Yeah, that was kind of sad, actually. You're right. DGAF says, yeah, I've been thinking about that for some months now. How's the CDMA and GSM is going to work? Well, so like in terms of integrating the two networks, I think uh, most of what Sprint has to offer in terms of current network infrastructure, it's really about the spectrum. It's really about the 2.5 gigahertz spectrum specifically. In terms of 5G, especially as the focus for this particular merger, it's not really going to matter about their CDMA. I mean, most or all of that's going to be decommissioned regardless. Uh, I would feel pretty confident saying that T-Mobile's network is currently operating at a more peak potential and more reliably than Sprint's. So I think the focus is not so much about what we're going to do with what Sprint's using right now. It's going to be about how do we integrate whatever Sprint's doing and their spectrum holdings for a future 5G. And there might be some, connectivity, and can we use some of, the current infrastructure to support where like T-Mobile doesn't have coverage now. Let's say Sprint does. Let's keep that up and running, uh, but let's decommission what we have for redundancy, and let's allocate those spectrum holdings and the different hardware where we need it. So uh, I think that's going to be kind of the approach for the new T-Mobile. It's going to be more of a focus on what we're doing in the future with Sprint's spectrum holdings, especially the 2.5 gigahertz for 5G. Dark Vader says, hello, Sneed. Salute. Salute, my friend. Glad you could be here. Thank you for tuning in. Uh, Fabian Hernandez says, you're doing this YouTube live via Verizon LTE. Yes, I am. Yes, I am. So what I did was I made a hotspot actually with my Google Pixel 2 XL, and it's running through my Chromebook. And I've got my brand new mic here. You guys can see it right here. That is the Blue Yeti. Uh, I forget the model, but it's fantastic. I love it. Super heavy duty, really high quality. You guys can tell me how the sound quality is compared to my other live streams. I think it sounds great. These headphones came with the bundle. And I also got the control arm. So thanks to the folks over on Patreon for their continued support, I was able to acquire this bundle of awesome equipment to upgrade the experience here with the YouTube channel and for the Patreon video. So big shout out to the patrons there. Gary says, I live in a rural town, so I'm hoping it will go through. You know, Gary, there are many people just like yourself who currently have Sprint, and even those that currently have T-Mobile that are very excited about the merger. They see the potential and what it can offer to people. I think more importantly, what it does is it gives them reassurance that, their carrier is going to be a legitimate player moving forward with 5G. 5G offers great potential. No matter what anybody says to you, although 5G is going to be a slow rollout, within 2 or 3 years, there's going to be dozens and dozens and dozens of markets that have 5G. And what that's going to mean is we have a lot of potential new usage for LTE connectivity and for 5G. And I'm not that I'm in a big market, but in the Cleveland area, I would estimate that Cleveland would be one of those towns that would receive 5G like second or third wave. So the first wave would likely be larger cities, second or third wave, kind of like those Cleveland type size metropolitan areas. Columbus probably in there, Cincinnati, that sort of thing, second or third wave. But what I'm really excited for, and this is what we're hearing from the merger, is rural America is going to be better represented and better taken care of. And that is possible with 5G. There's a lot of potential, especially T-Mobile's approach to 5G, which is really unique and different from, say, like Verizon and AT&T. So we're all excited for it, whether we're with T-Mobile or not as a carrier. We're excited to see the competition ramp up, and we know that they'll be a legitimate player in 5G. Let's see here. Matt Wilson says, I used 54 gigs of data when I had Verizon years ago. You must have been on one of those old grandfathered data plans back in the day. Used to have that, and I don't know, I just wasn't using it. I was using like 3 gigs a month. It didn't make sense to have it. And I was able to save money by getting on a data bucket plan. John M says, of course, it's convenient to get voice over LTE on phone calls, but the service is worse. Always less bars and calls cut out. Sprint CDMA calls, no issues. Honestly, John, I've had voice over LTE with Verizon. I don't know, man. It's been several years. All I ever do is get like compliments on my connection. I always see like my phone is running HD calling. It sounds terrific. The clarity is awesome. The connection is awesome. I really don't share those same experiences. So, to me, honestly, the voice over LTE has been a fantastic upgrade, in my opinion. Yeah, I don't have any dropped or choppy calls. I don't have any issues at all. If anything, the only time I have issues is when I'm speaking to somebody either on T-Mobile or Sprint. Well, not even Sprint actually. Sprint voice when it's connected is good, but again, like somebody on the Sprint network, like how many people are getting voice over LTE? They're still struggling with that rollout. Fabian says, I'm impressed with the upload speeds. Actually, the upload speeds are new. Back when I used to speed test the network several months ago, I was struggling to get like 3 to 5 megs. Now I'm seeing 8 to 10 megs. And with 8 to 10 megs uh, of upload speed, I can get HD on these streams. So it's doing pretty good. Honestly, I'm pretty happy with what's going on now with the Verizon network. Since they kind of changed their network management strategy, it's been overall a win for customers. Jay Brown, thanks for tuning in. Thank you for letting me know. Sounds great. Much appreciated. DGAF says, did you hear about T-Mobile home broadband coming up? Yeah, actually, DGAF, I'm going to do a video on it. We actually have a bit of a descriptive roadmap of what T-Mobile is going to be doing for their home services. I'm very, very excited for what they're going to do. I think T-Mobile is going to be a really serious home internet disruptor. Now, the best thing about what T-Mobile's doing is they're doing their 5G and home broadband together. So if you want, like, say for example, we're expecting something from Layer 3 TV, we're expecting TV services from T-Mobile, and obviously if you have their wireless service, they're doing it all together. So like what this does is it makes them more profitable, reduces the overhead, and allows them to service their customers in multiple streams. So it's really good for all parties involved. It makes T-Mobile more profitable. It keeps their customers spending money on their services, and it keeps the money from going to other companies. So really, it is a best of both worlds for all involved. So I'm very excited for that, and I like the idea of forcing, the current cable industry to have to compete. They've been resting on their laurels for decades, and this does make them shake a bit. And if anything, they're the type of companies that are going to be resisting the merger. It's not really Verizon, it's not AT&T, it's really cable companies because they know the uncarrier approach is to disrupt. And that's what John Leisure and the uncarrier movement is all about. Hawkeye says, I'm excited too. I can't wait till the merger goes through. I'm a T-Mobile customer. Hawkeye, you stand to benefit greatly from the merger. And actually, whether you're on Verizon, AT&T, Sprint, T-Mobile, it doesn't matter. I think a lot of what's going to come of the merger, if things go as planned for T-Mobile, it's going to be good all around for services. Having a legitimate contender and competitor, with wireless, with 5G, with home internet, with TV. I mean, if T-Mobile was to disrupt all of those different facets of entertainment connectivity, I mean, it really just stands to help us to benefit the customers. And that's really what it's about. I mean, if you think about just my mission here on the channel, it's about updating the consumer. It's about making people more aware of what's in the pipeline in the future and what type of services are out there for us. So as companies are forced to innovate, they're forced to compete with T-Mobile. And that's what we want. We want disruptors. We want more competition. We want more options. That's really what it's about. I don't want less options. I want more. And I think T-Mobile stands a great chance to get involved in all those different little branches of wireless and entertainment needs. Gary says, any news on Layer 3 TV? Not as it pertains to T-Mobile. Layer 3 TV obviously is still operating TV services. I think it's kind of sort of T-Mobile's ace in the hole when it comes to TV compression, and that's probably what they're going to be doing with it. But honestly, it's been pretty quiet with the Layer 3 TV news. I haven't really heard much recently, but I'll keep you guys posted on anything that I hear or see or read about in the near future. Matt Wilson says, I'm especially excited because millimeter waves will never achieve true 5G. Actually, Matt, so that's kind of false, what you're saying there. You can. All right, so here's the thing about millimeter wave. So without millimeter wave spectrum, you're probably never going to really achieve the blazing fast speeds that people are looking for in 5G. The millimeter wave is going to be the solution to get those really high end speeds, like 500 megabits per second, 800 megabits per second. With millimeter wave, we can get over a gigabit per second over our wireless networks. That's going to be really, really difficult to do with, say, 600 megahertz. Now, the issue is the drawback with, the gigahertz, type of spectrum is it doesn't travel far. So really what T-Mobile is trying to do with the 600 megahertz building out its 5G is to get it to stretch far distances. So while it may not be extremely fast, it will be extremely reliable and it will be able to reach far distances. So there's an advantage to using 600 megahertz for 5G, but the disadvantage is you won't have the throughput. You are not going to be able to achieve the speeds that Verizon and AT&T currently can achieve with their millimeter wave. So eventually, and this is in the very near future, you're going to see T-Mobile investing really, really aggressively in millimeter wave because they're going to have to start using it if they're going to achieve the speeds that people want out of 5G. So they'll have the 600 megahertz for the distance-related connectivity, and they'll have millimeter wave in conjunction with it to get those faster speeds because they've got to be able to compete with the speeds of Verizon and AT&T with the millimeter wave. Oh, Matt says, oh, no, I didn't have unlimited. I paid every gigabyte over 10. Wow, that gets really expensive, man. So you were on some kind of a bucket, and then you went over 10. So, wow. So was it like $10 for every 5 gigs that you used or something? That adds up pretty quick. Stephen Meyer, thank you for being here, man. Do you think Pixel phones will get RCS on T-Mobile? I think some T-Mobile phones actually already have the RCS updates. I think it's Samsung devices, a few of them. I think LG's also. Haven't really been reading much on the RCS end. Haven't seen many updates, but if it was going to happen on a Pixel phone, I think T-Mobile would be one of the first companies to roll it out. So, Gary, thanks, man. I appreciate the compliments, man. Appreciate it. Man, you guys are too nice, man. Thanks, Matt. Appreciate the compliment. DGAF says all the updates phones should have gotten RCS and T-Mobile by now. I mean, there was like, I want to say it was like a few months ago or like 4 or 5 months ago, there was an update on RCS chat, RCS messaging, and it was a T-Mobile update. So, I don't know if it's a phone-to-phone basis or if it's like clusters of phone models that are getting that update, but all Android phones should be migrating over to RCS chat. I mean, think about the connectivity and the flexibility of iMessage that Apple users have. I mean, it is a fantastic option. Like you get to see in real time, like if somebody has received your message, if they've looked at it, if they are typing and responding, like that's the one thing that Android is missing. And I think specifically, you would think that the Pixels would have it regardless of the carrier, but the carriers need to support it. It's actually a flaw in the system, man. I really, really dislike the fact that Android doesn't have a messaging platform like iMessage. Like Android, like all Android should have it and be accessible on it. Uh, the app shouldn't even have to be downloaded to a device. It should be like built into the operating system. So it's interesting because like I used to really dislike Apple for the purpose of its operating system is so closed. You can't really do much with it, right? Jailbreaking is a pain in the what and all this. But like it's almost commendable that they have a closed operating system because it keeps the ecosystem so efficient. It keeps the ecosystem so fine tuned. I want to see Android kind of become more like that with RCS chat. I want like an Android version iMessage, really, is what I want. Matt says $15 for every gig over. Oh my God, man. $15 and you were going over like 30, 40 gigs per month. That is absurd. That's really bad. All right, so here we go with the next topic. So we kind of talked about like the merger and how it's kind of on this pause window. Um, let's kind of talk about this topic. Not to get too political with it, but in terms of the T-Mobile the T-Mobile representatives staying at the Trump hotels. Now, to me, honestly, it's kind of a non-story. I think when T-Mobile executives are visiting Washington and where they're staying is like the Trump hotel, to me it's a slam dunk. Like if I was those T-Mobile executives, if I was T-Mobile, it's a slam dunk. You stay at the Trump hotel. Like what else would you do? But like then there's a side of me like, oh, maybe I don't want people thinking, oh, something fishy is going on, right? But now it's become a story. Now people are like pointing the finger and saying, something's going on. These T-Mobile executives are spending over $200,000 to stay at these hotels owned and operated by Trump, and it's become a story. And I think what's happening is with the resistance from some of those Democrats, Republicans, and independents on that panel, those congressmen that are opposing the merger that wrote those letters to the FCC, they're using this as ammunition to oppose the merger. Honestly, I don't think it's that big of a deal. I really don't. I think these are the types of things that happen behind closed doors in front of the public. They're not really hiding it, right? They're kind of out in front of the story, actually. But I think some people would ride this wave, and obviously, if you're opposing the merger, you're like, yeah, look at this nonsense, look at this tomfoolery going on. I just don't see it that way, and I honestly don't think it's enough to stop the merger. So whether you think there's something fishy going on or not, I think it's irrelevant to the fact that it's not enough to stop the merger. I think the fact that they were staying at these hotels is just the thing, and it's not enough to really stop the merger. So I'd like to hear your thoughts and opinions on it. What you guys think about it. I mean, maybe it's not that big of a deal to some. I know it's not to me, but you guys can let me know what you think. Ooh, I don't know what's going on in the live chat right now. It just stopped feeding. Let's see here. Oh, nope, there it goes. I got it. Okay. All right. Stop feeding for a second. My bad, guys. Says Dark Vader says, regardless of how you feel about Trump, those hotels are top notch, and John wants to stay at the best. No big deal. It's a good point, man. Those are going to be some very exclusive, very fine rooms, right? Nobody wants to stay at a crummy hotel, and he's catering to those needs. So I'm sure the services there are fantastic. These are executives, right? They want to be treated well and they want to be pampered. Have a nice setup for them, nice and decked out. So I think you're onto something there, Dark Vader. I don't really think it's anything. I don't think it's a story that needs to be blown out of proportion. I think some people have. Me personally, I'm not one of them. And like I said, I don't really have a dog in the fight. Honestly, I've opposed the merger in the past. I've kind of leaned towards the merger more recently as I kind of reflect and think about the kind of like what's going on in the wireless space. So honestly, not a big deal to me, but I think to some people it was. But it's old news. It was a story a month ago or a couple months ago, and now it's again blown out of proportion because that group is really trying to oppose the merger. That Congress group. Yeah, Matt, I agree. I don't really think it's that big of a deal. Gary says, I wish the shot clock wasn't shut down because we have to keep waiting. But do keep in mind a lot of experts in the field have been saying, even though the clock is on, we're not expecting a decision until the summer. So whether it's T-Mobile executives or it's market executives or it's, just people in the know, they're all kind of saying we're expecting some news in the summer. So whether that's June or July, we're expecting something around that time. So as of right now, we're in March. A month from now puts it at 1 year. We're kind of expecting it to take at least a year to go through its regulatory paces. Remember, you had the DOJ that's got to look at it and consider things. You got the FCC. Those are the last two hurdles. And I kind of feel like maybe the DOJ is going to be probably the next one to kind of clear it, and the FCC will be the last, even though I think the FCC is the easiest hurdle based on what we've seen from the FCC recently in the last couple of years. Yeah, so no big deal on the shot clock there on the 180-day window. Nintendo 504, hey man, glad you could be here. Thank you for tuning in. Nintendo 504 from Akron in the house. All right. Oh, back. Okay. All right. Glad you could be here. All right. So we had the pause on the merger. We got the FCC kind of reviewing the merger. I'm not sure how many of you actually have T-Mobile, but I actually just saw something. I read this article earlier. It was from I forget the name of the website. I don't know if it was Android Police or something else. T-Mobile users are going to be receiving a free subscription to MLB TV. So a nice little perk if you guys are baseball fans out there. T-Mobile's just kind of sweetening the pot, giving you guys a free subscription for the season for MLB TV. So if you have a favorite team, baseball team, Major League Baseball, you'll be able to watch them whether you're on the road, whether you're home, whether you're on the bus, whether you're in the car riding with somebody, you could watch the MLB games, which is pretty cool. I wish other carriers would do this. Kind of jealous. My favorite baseball team is the Cleveland Indians. I'd love to be able to watch them on MLB TV for free, no matter where I go. But Verizon doesn't do that. So big shout out to the young carrier Magenta for giving people free MLB subscriptions. Very nice perk there. I don't know if any of you guys out there are going to take advantage of that, or if you use it, or if you follow MLB. So let's see here. Matt says, I have talked to Mr. Leisure. He is such a nice guy. Matt, is that real? You met the guy? He seems like a nice guy, but I will say that John Leisure used to be a big wig over at AT&T. So it's interesting to see him take the uncarrier approach when he himself was one of those guys in those big boardrooms in AT&T. How he's transitioned to this guy with long hair and pink shirts and the uncarrier branding and his little blazer, right? Like, so he's transitioned away from an uptight corporate stuck up to this exact opposite, right? Do everything differently to be the uncarrier. I just think it's kind of ironic, right? Nintendo 504 says, hell yeah, Cleveland, Ohio. Yes, buddy. Northeastern Ohio. Gary Nagel says, come on over to T-Mobile, Sneed. Man, it's not a bad idea, man. I honestly, I really like everything that T-Mobile does. It seems like their business model, their business plan is so likable and attractive. The only thing is, in terms of my home area where I live, where I travel to, where I spend most of my time, there really is no better service than Verizon in terms of speeds, connectivity, call quality, which still matters to me. Nobody's beating Verizon out here. I've tried every carrier, seriously. Sprint's not really great out here. T-Mobile's okay. There's some really, really fast speeds out here in Cleveland. But again, like experiences are like the call connectivity isn't that great and call matters to me. So really my only choices were AT&T and Verizon. And I tried AT&T and their speeds weren't that great in terms of data, although the call connectivity was pretty good. I'm just sticking with Verizon. They just seem to be offering the best experience for me where I live, where I work, where I travel to, where I drive around. Everywhere I go, signal is strong and the speeds are very fast. Let's see here. Hawkeye says, I'm taking advantage of the MLB. All right, good, man. I'm glad to hear it. Those little perks that T-Mobile offers, they really make me very happy. Even though I'm not a T-Mobile customer, I like to see customers getting more value for their money, and that's what T-Mobile does. They really do try to maximize what they can give you. Everything from Netflix on us to binge on us and all these different programs, the jump on demand, all these different programs that they do, just trying to be different, and that's okay. That's good. And actually, Verizon, they've kind of started to respond in that way, right? They're trying to get people Apple Music and certain things like that. So uh, I'm definitely a big fan of what T-Mobile's doing as a disruptor. John says, aside from the speeds, if we were talking calls, call quality, I bet Sprint comes out on top, and T-Mobile and even AT&T. John, honestly, around these parts, man, Sprint's just a really bad experience. Very, very frequently, people are complaining about 3G connectivity in parts of town where every other carrier has LTE, and you know, trying to stand by windows to make a call and get a signal. I mean, it's really just bad. I mean, and that's why a lot of people end up leaving Sprint because they feel like their experience is so subpar compared to so many other carriers. So it's really difficult to say, like, yeah, move on over to Sprint over on this side of town in the Cleveland area. I couldn't recommend it. I could recommend T-Mobile, I could recommend AT&T, and I can recommend Verizon for the performance, but it's really hard to justify it, whether the calling is good or not. Like, you've got almost unusable data speeds. Nintendo 504 says, what part of Cleveland I go to? Cleveland Heights. So that's like the east side of Cleveland, some east suburbs. I spend most of my time on the west suburbs and a little bit south. So I'm talking like the West Park, near West Side. Also like western suburbs, North Olmsted, Rocky River, Lakewood, that part of town. Michael Spriggs, thank you for being here and chiming in. Says Verizon Wireless has NFL Mobile. Yeah, and that's something that I've always used. They've always had that big deal with NFL. So I've always used it. You know, you could tune into all those games on Sundays. My team's the Cleveland Browns. I could watch them on the go, which is kind of nice. But actually, now that I've switched over to streaming for everything, like I have Hulu Live TV, the Verizon, having that deal with the NFL is not really as big of a perk anymore. But like a couple of years ago, it was big time. I always used to use it, get connected. It was really nice. So yeah. All right. So we've talked about quite a bit here. The discussion has been good. I know we talked a lot about the merger this week. We've had some news there. So we've had the pause on the review of the merger. We've got some resistance to the merger. A group of congressmen that oppose it. Um, I just wanted to ask you guys out there, for those of you that have been with T-Mobile, anybody on one of their older plans, the Simple Choice, have you officially been switched over for that loyalty program upgrade that they did? Like if you were on like a 4 or a 6 or an 8 GB data plan, a data bucket, did they transition you over to an unlimited uh, or the T-Mobile One unlimited plan? I was just kind of like, I know some people were commenting in the comment section of that video, but I haven't really heard much from any of the users on here. I'm assuming that a lot of you, if you do have T-Mobile, you're on the T-Mobile One plans, so it really doesn't affect you. But I'd like to know if anybody was affected by that loyalty upgrade. But I'm just assuming that that's the case, that people are already on those unlimited plans, the newer ones, like T-Mobile One. Nintendo 504 says Hulu Live, I got rid of them. So would you switch over to? Um, I used to actually be with the DirecTV Now service, and they kept bumping up the price. So like I had an introductory price of like $30 a month. Then it went to 40. Then it went to 50. And then by the time it went to 60, the value just wasn't there. So I ended up switching to Hulu Live. It's got pretty much everything I want. It's got DVR. It's got multiple streams. It's been great. It's been awesome. The app runs great. It streams very well to my TV and stuff like that. So I've been pretty happy. Any other cord cutters out there? Ditch cable for a streaming service. Netflix, Hulu Live, DirecTV Now. What is it? PlayStation View, whatever you got. Nintendo 504 says YouTube TV. I was with DirecTV. YouTube TV is a pretty nice service, actually. The only problem with YouTube TV is I think YouTube TV is limited in its channels. Like, I know they're like 40 plus channels. They've got to just expand a little bit. Like, if they could add 5 to 10 more very, very useful channels that most people like, I think that people would start shifting away from Hulu and moving towards the YouTube. But it's not easy to get programming. It's actually really expensive. So cutting the cord is easy as a user, right? For somebody who's going to buy the service, but you want to get like the best value of the channels that you like. So I know YouTube TV actually hit a milestone. They have over 1 million subscribers to the platform now, which is great. I mean, they did that really, really fast. And obviously, it helped that they got the service deployed pretty much all over the U.S. Like every major city has the service now. So yeah, they're doing big things with YouTube TV, and I think over the course of the next couple of years, they're going to continue to expand their channel list and get more programming that people want onto the platform. Yeah, I really like YouTube TV. My wife just loves Hulu Live, so that's kind of why we're sticking with that. And it also has like my daughter's Nickelodeon, Nick Jr., Kids Jr., all that stuff. I don't know. All her channels that she likes are there too. You guys don't talk too much, man. This is a discussion. I'm okay with it. You guys can say whatever you want. I mean, we keep it civil here on Steam Mobile Tech. The live chats are fantastic. I honestly, it's awesome to listen to the feedback and to get your input on all these different topics. The one thing I look forward to the most when it comes to my videos is when you guys give me your thoughts and opinions on the topics. And I pretty much read everything, and I try to like and kind of respond and reply to everything that you guys kind of comment on. So yeah, it's the best part of the channel, honestly. When I make a video, it's just to get the pulse of the people and to see what you guys' thoughts and opinions are on that particular topic. Hawkeye says, I think me going to Sling TV, I like how you can integrate over the air into the Sling TV app. Hawkeye, I used to have Sling. Actually, I think when I switched from cable to streaming services, I think I did switch to Sling first. But at the time, Sling didn't really have a nice diversity of channels. It was pretty limited. So I ended up switching to Hulu Live. And we just kind of happened to like Hulu Live a little bit better. From what I understand, though, Sling has really upped their game and they've got a nice channel list now. And they've got multiple packages and you can get additional value with some of those packages. And the app actually wasn't good when I had Sling TV. So if they fix that problem, then I'm sure they're doing a lot better. Nintendo 504 says, what made me switch is their streaming services with DirecTV sucks. YouTube is good. Yeah, it's pretty good. Oh, yeah, and the unlimited DVR. You're right. That is a great service. Some of the streaming services make you pay for X amount of hours of DVR. YouTube TV is like DVR all you want, as much as you want, as long as you want. Here's 6 streams. You know, they give you good value from that perspective. Jay Brown says, does Android phones have pop-up ads on them when watching YouTube TV or something like that? They have pop-up ads on tablets when streaming. I'm not sure if YouTube TV does. I haven't really been using the service. Hulu Live has like the standard advertisements. You know, you got to generate revenue, right? So just standard commercials. They'll be like 30-second, 60-second commercials. I think sometimes it'll be like 90 seconds of commercials, and then it gets back to your programming. So, and I think it's pretty standard. I mean, that's how TV works. Gary, you have Xfinity. So that's your cable provider for your home internet and your cable TV. I'm surprised, Gary, you don't have their wireless provisions then. Nintendo 504. Don't worry about your grammar, man. It's not a big deal. This is not English class, and I'm not in high school. I teach high school. Right? I'm not a teacher when I do the live streams, and I'm definitely not an English teacher, man. I teach science, so you don't have to worry about the grammar here. As long as I can understand you, it's all good. Martin says, still on Hulu with commercials and Netflix. Yeah, I think when it comes to cord cutting, if you have Netflix, you want to kind of tag team it with like another live service, so you can get live TV and stuff like that, especially if you're into sports and live programming and movies and stuff like that. So I think like if like say you have like Hulu Live TV and Netflix, or if you have YouTube TV and Netflix, or DirecTV Now and Netflix, you're pretty much covered. And last I checked, I think Netflix went up a couple bucks, but most people are paying about 12, 13, $15. Gets you like full HD or maybe even the 4K. And then you get live, right, with the live streaming services, which for live TV, you're paying a little bit more, 40, 50, $60. So you've got all your TV covered for under 90 or under $80 even. So much better option than cable if you're paying like 100, 120 for a TV package and then throw in high-speed internet and your bill's already $200. Throw in a couple TV boxes and you're looking at 240, right? Or any rented equipment for your internet. Sucks. So expensive. Nintendo 504 says Hulu Live is Geolock. Yeah, it's true. They you got to have your location services on because that's how they get you connected to the certain local TV channels. Gary says, because I'm going to change everything over to T-Mobile from phone, TV, internet. You know, Gary, I think that's the plan. If T-Mobile was to offer, credible services in home internet, wireless, and TV, you'd have it all covered. What, Gary, you tell me if you would do this. I'm going to assume that your home TV services and your cable, right, like your internet, I'm going to assume that you're at about 140, 150 bucks. And then your wireless, you're probably paying $50 a line or something like that, right? Or if you're single plan, you're 70. If you got a family plan, it's like 50 a line. In some way, shape, or form, you're spending probably almost 300 bucks, right? 250, $300. What if they were to say to you, have the home internet, have the TV, have the wireless, all for $199. Just bundle all that. Like, you would be ecstatic, right? If you were saving 50, 60, 70, $80, $100 by bundling services. That's what people want. They want the bundled service to save money. And obviously, not doing contracts, that sort of thing, that's just not what T-Mobile does. Like, they don't do contracts. So it would put you in a position where you're going to save money and they're going to keep the money spent with them. That's why I say it's like the best of both worlds. Let's see here. Martin says Hulu's commercials is $5.99 a month now. Yeah, but that's not live. Or is it $5.99 to get rid of commercials? I'm not sure. So Gary's paying $182 per month for internet and TV. Exactly. So then you throw in your wireless services. Like, what if you could save 60, 70, 80 bucks a month? Nintendo 504 says, I'll switch in a heartbeat to T-Mobile internet. I would too. If I could do wireless and home internet and TV all with one company, and it was a company I liked, man, that's like a dream come true. Bundled service. Joel, what's up, buddy? Glad you could be here, man. He said Sneed for president. Come on, man. I'm up for re-election. You know that. Go and vote for your boy, man. Matt says, I miss Xfinity. Funny story. I did sales for both Xfinity and T-Mobile. So it's cool that you've been in the industry, man. It's very interesting. We've got a couple people actually here on the YouTube channel. We've got some subscribers and viewers and members of the Patreon page that have worked within wireless, whether it was retail or customer care, or they worked in support centers or in hardware swaps and things like that. It's really interesting to see how many of you are tech enthusiasts that have worked in the field, which offers great insight. It really is awesome having you guys, especially with your experiences. Gary says, will you run for president? President of what, man? I'm not even the president of my house. You know what I'm saying? I'm just like a vice president here. How am I going to run for president? Matt says, I pay $260 a month for T-Mobile family plan and $170 for cable, internet, and home phone. That's probably what a lot of people are paying. That's like right around there. $260 a month for T-Mobile. I'm guessing you've got probably like a handful of lines, maybe 5 or 6 or something like that. The cable internet at $170. That's like very, very common. Some people I hear pay over $200. So they'll have a couple of TV boxes. They'll have 100 meg internet or gigabit speed, gets them over $200. Like, it's really easy to make that stuff add up fast, especially when you got to support like 10 connected devices. There's 5 phones and 3 tablets and 2 laptops and an Xbox or a PlayStation. The bandwidth adds up and you end up needing really, really high speeds. And then, of course, they make you pay a premium. So, yeah, the stuff adds up really quick. Joel says, I love using Hulu Live. I pay $65 per month because I also have the unlimited screens feature. That's pretty nice, man. So you can have like the entire family streaming off Hulu Live TV to all their devices. That's freaking awesome. Matt says, how does Patreon work? I want to support you. You know what, Matt? If you go to my channel page, just click on the icon for the Sneed Mobile Tech page. On all of my videos in the description box below, I've got a link that'll take you right to the page. What you do is you go to that link, you access the Patreon page, and then you can actually support me there, become a patron. and that gets you exclusive access to all the content that doesn't make its way onto the Sneem Mobile Tech YouTube channel. So what ends up happening is you get a lot of early release videos, you get a lot of community interactions, there's a lot of polls. There's specific things that I do there that I don't do on the YouTube channel. And also, it's just the simple fact that you are supporting my content creation here. So, you know, trying to rely on ad revenue is very challenging because, I mean, you need hundreds of thousands of views on all of your videos to really make the AdSense work. And, there's just not much there. So, I can tell you right now, what I've been able to do with my patrons has really been a blessing. It's a small community. It's very, it's very intimate in that we can communicate very quickly, and it's just a handful of us. So I am trying to make it grow. I do want the platform to expand for Sneem Mobile Tech. So if you're looking to support me there, that supporting fee goes a long way. It's supported me for equipment. It's supported me for making those unique and exclusive videos, doing additional research and covering articles. And I also ask for the input of my patrons. Sometimes they drive what I create for the YouTube channel. So early access and other reasons, all those different perks to support the Sneem Mobile Tech Patreon page. So thank you in advance for those considerations. Gary says, do you get Windstream? I'm not even sure I know what Windstream is. Is that a service? I'm not sure. Joel says, I had DirecTV for 4 years. I was paying $130 per month. So yeah, I love Hulu Live. That's $130 a month just for TV. I think a lot of people forget like what DirecTV is like as a satellite provider. Like it's $130 just for TV. So then you got to pay for internet services, and then you got to pay for phone, which is separate. So yeah, it's a lot of money. So $130 for TV, throw in the home phone probably, and then your internet, you're probably over $250. Sorry guys, I got to take a sip of some water. It's been a long live stream. I didn't expect to be on this long, but glad you guys are here, and I'm glad to get involved with the live stream. Thank you guys so much. Let's see here. Matt says, or Gary says, internet in my hometown. Oh, that's Windstream. They're a provider. Okay. I don't have them out here. Out in this part, everything's really regional. So, like, you'll see in certain parts of town, you'll have Cox available, or in other parts, you'll have Time Warner, which is Spectrum. You'll have AT&T in certain parts, WOW as a cable provider. It just kind of depends what part of the city you're in. Matt says, I've got 3 phones and a smartwatch. I get max speeds, 450 megs. Thanks for letting me know, man. I'd support you with no perks. We all appreciate what you do here, buddy. Thank you so much, Matt. Those kind words, man. I'm actually really happy to do it, man. I love the channel. I love the interaction. You guys are great. I will say that there are a lot of channels on YouTube, whether it's tech related or anything else. I mean, there's just so much animosity and there's so much negativity, and people are cruel and disrespectful, and they don't respect each other's opinions. They just don't know how to be civil. And honestly, I can say on my channel, whether it's in the live streams on the podcast or, it's just the videos, I mean, everybody is so kind and respectful to each other, and they can agree to disagree, and they don't resent each other for it. So really, I think our community is so positive. It just makes it more productive as a discussion. So yeah, I have no problem continuing to make these videos and having these discussions with you guys. It really is a pleasure. Ooh, Gary says, I'm going to get the Samsung Galaxy S10 5G. Gary, my friend, that would be great if you could report back on the performance of that thing. Now, Gary, if you're running T-Mobile and you're going to buy this phone, you're going to have to be, in a market that's going to have 5G. So, like, yeah, you're kind of future-proofing your phone. But let's say 5G doesn't get to your home market within a couple of years. Your phone's kind of outdated. They're going to have better solutions for 5G, better antennas, better modules, better hardware, better battery life. Being an early adopter can kind of put you behind the 8 ball after about a year of usage. So, maybe it's something to reconsider. I wouldn't rush to necessarily get a 5G phone if I wasn't in a 5G market, especially when the S10 5G is probably going to be about $1,500. So, Gary, if you got deep pockets, go ahead and do it, man. But I'm just saying, don't be in a rush to get into some tech that's not really useful to you. Oscar says, Hey, Sneed Mobile Tech, my dude. Thank you for being here, Oscar. Much appreciated. Wow, Matt, that is some pretty good speeds. 450 megabits per second. What is it on the upload if you're getting 450 on the download? Just curious. Uh, I know uploads like uh, what I'm getting 100 on the download and 10 on the upload. My service. Oh yeah, and Oscar, long time no see, man. Glad you could be here. It's been a while. Omar says wireless charging is important for you. Uh, I don't know. I like wireless charging, but it's not make or break for me. I had a wireless charging phone back in like 2013. If you guys remember, it was the uh, Motorola made Nexus 6, that really big Shamu phone. It had wireless charging. I even had it in like my Nexus 5, I think was wireless charging. But those phones were plastic, so they weren't glass. And I actually missed that a little bit. Those were kind of cool. Nintendo 504, actually, I don't have Spectrum. I have Cox. That's my provider. Oscar says, I don't think that Democrats don't want to let the merger happen. It's not like all Democrats. The thing about the merger opposition is a lot of the congressmen in that party, in that opposition, happen to be Democrats. Like it's a majority Democrats. But there are some Republicans in that group, and there are some independents in that group. So I think it's important we remain objective and call it like it is. So I don't want you guys to kind of mislabel and misinterpret what's going on there. Gary says, "Are you going to get the S10?" I don't know, Gary. It seems like a worthy upgrade in some ways. I think if I was going to upgrade to the Samsung Galaxy S10, I would get the S10e. I like the idea of having a smaller form factor for a phone. If the battery life was good and it could get me through a full day, I'd probably be good with it. But again, I don't know about the cost, man. It's just these prices are outrageous. Like getting a regular S10 or S10 Plus, I mean, you're getting up to $1,000 now, so they're just expensive. I may just kind of hold on to my Google Pixel 2 XL for another year or so until a 5G network is more available in my home market, and then upgrade at that time. But I don't know, just kind of depends. You never know. I might do something just for the case of the channel. Uh, let's see here. Matt says I only get 55 on the upload, but 55 on the upload is fantastic. What can't you do with a 55 upload? I mean, pretty much whatever you got to do. Obed says, I need that Sprint T-Mobile merger to go through so I can get off my contract with Sprint and get a new iPhone. I got an 8 Plus at the moment. So if you have an 8 Plus, you probably had your phone for like a year or something like that. Hang tight, man. The integration of the networks and the clearance is still about a year away anyway. You'll be out of your contract or your payments before the merger actually has any substantial integration of the networks in terms of the customer rollover and stuff like that. Mustard says 4G LTE speeds in my neck of the woods, 264 megs per second, download speed, and 50 on the upload. Must be nice, man. I honestly can't remember a time where I saw any type of more than 100. I've seen like 180, 190 megabits per second on the download with Verizon LTE. I've gotten upwards of 80 or 90 on the upload at times. I haven't seen it that fast, though. That's really fast. That is awesome for you, Mustard. Oscar says the S10 is more expensive than the iPhone 10R and 10s. Yeah, Oscar, but the S10e, which is like the iPhone 10R, is priced more competitively. So, they're kind of more comparable in that respect. Nintendo 504 says my buddy got the S10 Plus and it was 1100. So I think the S10 Plus is starting at 1,000. He must have gotten into a more upgraded storage or RAM option, I'm guessing. Nintendo 504 says my iPhone 10s Max costed me 1,300 because I got the 256. Yeah, my wife too. She got the 10s Max, and your boy got a new payment. Gary says get Morpheus wireless charger. Is that a good one? Is it a rapid charger? Mustard says, to be honest, those are just the top speeds that I've measured. So what would be like average speed of where you are? And actually, what is your market that you're speed testing there? Joel says, I have a friend that works at the mobile tech department at Target, and he said that Sprint pulled their phones and sales from there, so now it's only AT&T and Verizon. So I think what that means, Joel, is they're pretty much abandoning what's been going on in terms of their marketing strategy and where they're selling their phones. It's just they're not getting any traction there. I think they're just cutting losses, honestly, at this point. Mustard says mostly between 40 to 100 megs. Yeah, those are pretty good speeds. Yep. Man, I don't know how long I've been streaming for. I don't know. Anybody know how long I've been streaming? It's been a while. I know that. My goal was to be on here for about 30 minutes to an hour. Something tells me I've exceeded that. But that was the goal, and I wanted to test out my new equipment. I got the new mic. I got the Blue Yeti. I've got my new lighting. I've got my new microphone stand, the arm. Right, so I got some new stuff, and I wanted to try it out. So I'm glad I was able to do that tonight with the live stream. Nintendo 504 says, when will Band 71 come to Ohio? Uh, Band 71 is in Ohio. It's been in Ohio for a while, actually, from what I understand. I'm not sure what parts, but if you go to the T-Mobile website, you can actually see a coverage map of all the parts of the U.S. that have Band 71. I'm pretty sure it's out there. All right, so it's been an hour and a half. Thanks, Gary. Yeah, I really like this mic. You guys could tell me how the sound quality is. I can't really tell, but it seems to be working just fine. All right, so I think that's pretty much it for the live chat. That'll kind of conclude the podcast. I just wanted to kind of do a synthesis of everything that happened this week with the merger. Again, I wanted to kind of diffuse some of the anxiety that some people, started getting about the merger, like, oh no, it's gonna end, it's over, it's gonna fail, it's gonna stop. I would just say pump the brakes, just kind of wait. A lot can happen within a couple of weeks. We should have word when the merger is going to proceed and they're going to restart the clock, which again is not a big deal. It's just the clock. They can pause it, resume it, restart it, reset it. They could do whatever they want. The FCC is going to take their time with this, and they don't see a rush. So that being the case, I think that's it for this podcast live stream. Thank you all who tuned in to watch. Anybody who contributed and asked or discussed anything in the live chat. Thank you to my patrons over on Steam Mobile Tech on the Patreon page. Thank you to everybody who had something to say in any of the videos this week. Thank you for watching my videos. Thank you to all my subscribers. Thank you for all my commenters. And of course, I've got more content to come. So stay tuned to the channel. Make sure you are subscribed. Make sure you ding the bell to be notified whenever I upload new content. That's it for this podcast live stream. This is Steve from Steam Mobile Tech, and I will see you guys on the next video and on the next live stream. Peace.